Greetings and salutations, everyone, and welcome back. Have I got a bonus upload for you? Before we jump into it, a couple links. As you all know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon and PayPal are in the description below. The merch is displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It doesn't cost you a cent. Click that like button. It takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all these things, they really do help this channel to continue to grow and go, and yeah, they definitely matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to tonight's bonus, shall we? All right, guys, so tonight we are going to explore a little more information about Dulce and people who have investigated it or other underground military bases. As you know, they're Groom Lake or Dreamland, and then Mount Shasta. Tonight, we are going to look at someone who really spent a large portion of their life researching this. And, from what I gathered, the information they have is just as important as Lear and Cooper. So let's get into this. The September 10th, 1990 issue of UFO Universe related the following under the title heading, William F. Hamilton III, UFOlogy Mystery Man to Reveal Cosmic Top Secrets. Until just recently, William F. Hamilton III managed to keep up a relatively low profile so that he could continue his work in private and without needless interruption from well-meaning and nevertheless prying eyes. Admittedly, his name is not known in every household, but the fact of the matter is that Bill is highly respected amongst his peers. Indeed, what he has to say is as important and vital as the words from flying ace John Lear and former Navy intelligence officer William Cooper, who have gone on record regarding the alien conspiracy. In fact, much of what Hamilton maintains is consistent with the theory that there is a massive government cover-up on UFOs and alien visitations that reaches right up to the president's private office door, and that the United States military has made a secret pact with a group of aliens known as the Greys. They are on Earth, mutilating cattle, abducting humans for experimental purposes. Supposedly, the Greys have taken over several top-secret underground military facilities, and certain branches of the government who are working hand with these entities to bring about total domination of the world, while a second group of extraterrestrials is here trying to protect us. Of a highly controversial nature, many of Hamilton's statements may seem overly radical to even his closest associates, not to mention other investigators who refuse to even seriously consider the documentation he is able to present to bolster his case. About 10 years ago, a few scientists and engineers who worked for NASA and shared an interest in UFO abductions came together to form a group they called Project Visit, Vehicle Internal Systems Investigative Team. They studied about 130 cases of UFO abductions with the goal of constructing a model of UFOs, their operation, and the entities who crew the UFOs. They found UFOs have bright interior lighting. Abductees undergo a medical-type examination with apparently highly sophisticated equipment. Burns are suffered by many abductees. Time loss from 20 minutes to 3 hours is common. Project Visit member Dr. Richard Nimpzow described the crew members as 4 feet tall, hairless, gray in color, with no nose, a small mouth, and large slanted eyes. The gray humanoid is emotionless and communicates through telepathy. The Greys are earned a reputation quite different from the Nordic blondes and other reported species. Most of the abductions are done by the Greys, and more than one variation of Greys. The Greys do most of the biological intervention on abductees. Tans, whites, and blues have also been reported by abductees. I have personally had some sort of encounter with what I call the whites. They are small with extremely white skin and black wraparound eyes. Earth-made saucers. In April of 1984, Lieutenant General George Bone, Vice Commander of the U.S. Air Force Systems Command, was killed while test flying a secret aircraft over Groom Lake area, a top-secret facility located 100 miles north of Las Vegas, Nevada. This facility is designated Area 51. The Systems Command reputedly uses the facility to test fly spy planes such as the SR-71 Blackbird or its successor, the Aurora. According to the February 1988 issue of Gung Ho magazine, which ran a feature article on Area 51, some of the craft being flown out of that test facility would make George Lucas drool. In the early 1980s, a radio technician working at Area 51 reported seeing a saucer on the ground. It was some 20 to 30 feet in diameter, he said, and when it flew, it moved silently through the air. The technician also viewed a number of wooden shipping crates marked Project Red Light. That project may have been the forerunner of Snowbird. Presently, the Air Force is trying to acquire 89,000 acres adjacent to Groom Lake facility and to place the nearby Groom Mountains off limits to the public. Before and after TV documentary UFO Cover-Up Live, there had been talk of an underground alien base located in the vicinity of Groom Lake test site known as Dreamland. This adds a whole new dimension to the idea of secret space program and hints at fantastic secret programs that take us more than one step beyond. A friend of mine once moved to Riverton, Wyoming to escape from terrifying mysteries he encountered in New Mexico. He said the locals at Riverton asked him, "Are you here to work on a secret space project out at the jet airport?" Saucers were seen close to the ground in Riverton. One day, my friend's truck broke down, and he had to hitch a ride back to town. A black Lincoln pulled up, and a man dressed in black gave him a lift. The dashboard looked like a computer console. The MIB knew exactly where he wanted to be left off, in front of the post office, but my friend had never told him this. Alien implants. In 1980, when I lived in Glendale, Arizona, I received a call from a friend, Walter Baumgartner, who published a magazine of limited circulation called Energy Unlimited. Walter is a natural technologist. He said that he had started working for a physicist by the name of Paul Benowitz at Thunder Science Labs in Albuquerque, New Mexico. He then proceeded to tell me the fantastic story that Mr. Benowitz had succeeded in communicating with aliens at an underground base situated near Mount Archuleta in the town of Dulce, that was close to Colorado's border and situated on the Jicarilla Apache Indian Reservation. He told me that these little gray aliens were abducting and implanting people with a device inserted at the base of their skull for the purpose of monitoring and controlling humans. He said that the government knew about this and was involved with alien activities. He also stated that the aliens feared our nuclear weapons and nuclear radiation. He told me that Paul was working on a weapon that would be effective against these aliens. The underground bases On April 1st and 2nd, I spent 24 hours visiting with John Lear at his home in Las Vegas. He took out a stack of papers and had me peruse through them at my leisure. His study room had walls covered with aircraft photos and certificates. There was no doubt in my mind that John loved flying. John is a soft-spoken individual, and frequently, while visiting, I have watched him putter in the garden. We discussed Area 51. John had some long-distance photos of the Groom Lake facility. The one thing that stood out in one of the photos was a radio telescope pointing straight up in the midst of the group of buildings. The scope was probably tracking any overhead spy satellites. He showed me the reference in the February 1988 issue of Gung Ho magazine that insisted that spacecraft were being test flown from this facility. John heard rumors that the Greys had a base under Groom Mountain. This is the one we believe is called Dreamland. One of my sources, a leak, says DREAM is an acronym that stands for Data Repository Establishment and Maintenance. John told me the story of Mr. K, whose son Robert was trapped inside a joint human-alien underground base in Utah. This Robert had apparently worked at Dulce Base. At the time, Mr. K felt like he was being given the runaround by the military in his attempts to locate his son. I have learned there were a few technical people who worked at the Sandia Labs in Albuquerque who were interested in alien activity. One man I talked to, CR, knew a mysterious Colonel Ronald Blackburn, who was reputed to have said that there are 600 aliens at the Groom Lake facility in Nevada. CR had investigated a UFO crash near Gallup, New Mexico in '83. This one was also investigated by Tommy Roy Bland. I heard of Colonel Edwards at Albuquerque, who knew the AFOSI agent, Richard Doty. Doty had talked to some investigators about the government cover-up. Why, I don't know. Weird happenings at Dulce. On April 19th, 1988, my wife and I arrived at Dulce, New Mexico at around 4:30 p.m. Dulce was a beautiful little mountain town sitting at the elevation exceeding 7,500 feet. There was still snow on the ground at the Best Western Motel. We checked into the motel and called Gabe Valdez. He came over to see me at about 9:30 p.m. We talked about UFOs and cattle mutilations. He said that he had not seen any mute since 1981 to 82. I had him read a letter written by Richard Doty in which Doty denies all involvement with UFO secrecy. He said Doty wasn't telling the truth. This proved true because Doty started talking again. He told me that Doty wrote a report that stated that Paul Benowitz was being investigated. Later, Gabe offered us a ride around Dulce. He took us in his patrol car and showed us some of the routine routes. He said he saw glowing orange lighted airships flying silently around the area. Frequently, he never saw any of these airships during the day. We took a look at the Gomez Ranch, site of some of the mutes that took place in 1978. We asked about Benowitz's belief that there was a secret underground alien base in the area. He said he believed about 80% of what Benowitz said concerning the alien activity in the area. He definitely seemed to think there was a base in the area, but his idea of where it is located is different than Paul's. He thought that the base might be south of Dulce, closer to Gomez Ranch. He said he had not found any entries to this base. He had found landing tracks and crawler marks near the site of the mutes. He invited me to come back sometime and climb Mount Archuleta. Someday I would come back to Dulce, but I have no idea when. A lot started happening in October of '88. I started investigating the case of a couple who had gone up to the plateau on the south side of the Tehachapi Mountains, not far from my house. At 2 a.m, they witnessed a large flashing orb come up out of the ground and slowly rise into the sky. They experienced about 2 hours of missing time under hypnosis performed by a local hypnotherapist who had taken an interest in UFO abductees. We had found that this man recalled having been taken to the underground facility. He kept mentioning the colonel. Alright guys, I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's second half as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'm very fascinated with the cover-ups that is going on and has been going on with Dulce, Area 51, Dreamland, and it's just getting more interesting the more we look into it. So I'm having fun. I hope you guys are. When I say fun, I mean fun learning. Guys, thank you for supporting this channel. Your support is what makes this channel so special and continues to make it grow and go. With that being said, stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on your children, your pets, your family, and friends. Guys, stay safe, and God bless you all.